So we're back here with Stefan from Melodyne, or Celemony, I suppose it's the same thing.
Yeah, Celemony is the company and Melodyne is the product we are known most for.
What's your, you know what, just we haven't talked about this, but what else does Celemony do?
We have actually a second product which is independent from Melodyne. There are different editions of Melodyne, starting from the essential version for very slow money up to the studio version. But we also have Capstan, which is
What's Capstan?
Capstan is a tool for removing wow and flutter in a recording, and it's in the chord technology. It uses also the DNA stuff, which made Melodyne become famous for. But it's a completely different approach on this thing. And people who use Capstan, they have the problem that they have old tapes, so really old recordings that suffer from wow and flutter, mainly because the tape over the years in the archive, it just got corrupted and everything. And so you can restore it. You just put in such a recording, which is goes all the time. You put it.
Sounds like my singing.
It's actually it's a funny thing that we started to do this thing that somebody, a Melodyne user, had an old recording and the wow and flutter was going up like this, and he thought, well, that's kind of like some people sing, and you can edit this with Melodyne, but you can't. It's a different thing. So we developed this Capstan thing, which really solves those problems. And it's used by people who have this huge archives and restoring classical records.
As you know, there's very, very few classical pieces where the composer is conducting his own piece. Because, of course, Beethoven and Mozart and all the greats were dead before we had any kind of technology. But there is some early Elgar from the turn of the last century, early 1900s, of him doing like Nimrod and some beautiful pieces. Elgar, English composer, heavily influenced by the Romantics and Beethoven and stuff. And it's interesting because I wonder, there's a lot of tempo changes, which is fantastic. And the pitch remains constant, so it's not like a speed up or slow down, but it would be pretty amazing to hear what that would be like if they went through and really cleaned it up. Because that just having the composer conduct his own piece of music is huge. For any classical music buffs out there, understand what I mean, because then you really hear what the interpretation was.
Exactly.
Because we're blessed to read score, but we don't know the Beethoven when he said he wanted it to get faster. We don't know how fast he really wanted to go. And people are obviously a lot more conservative, but especially Beethoven, of course, because of rubato, and listening to like Brendel play Beethoven is so amazing because he doesn't care. He just puts in so much expression. Anyway, I'm off on a massive tangent. As you can tell, I like classical music.
We should do a separate thing.
We should do a separate thing just on classical.
It's really great stuff.
Back to the wonderful world of Melodyne. So what we're going to do in this one is we're going to talk about. Now, there's some great tools that we all know about. Those Pro Tools users will know. Things like Vocal Align are really great. They go in there, they read all the transients of a vocal, and they take the double and they align it up. And it does do a wonderful job. But in Melodyne, you can do a bit of all of that because obviously you can align so that the vocal's closer. You don't want it to be so perfect that it phases, but you can get it closer in timing, but you can also obviously work with pitch and stuff. It's more creative. So why don't you sort of talk us through what it's like to work on doubled vocals?
Let's work on this a little bit, and I explain roughly a few functions which you should know as a starter to know how to work your way through it. First thing, with this orange button, you get the notes of this lead vocal on the screen. That's where it goes, and you probably would listen to just the lead vocal. So this thing now comes into play. This is the mix slider you also have in the plugin. So you don't want, if you work in your DAW and use Melodyne as a plugin, you don't want to change your DAW mix setup just in order to focus on this vocal or this vocal. So you have a kind of pre-mix stuff here. Turn it fully to the left. You only hear the tracks that were put to the orange mode, which are the tracks that are shown here. So in this example,
help me
that's the lead vocal.
Stay while I'm wide awake. You shaking me wide awake. Shaking me wide awake.
Has there been any tuning on it?
There's a little bit of tuning on the lead. I can hear it.
I hear here, and I heard
I
it
hear
there.
on the beep, beep, beep.
Yeah, so
heard
it
on
sounds a
there.
little bit artificial. So that
Yeah.
was there before. I didn't.
That
do
was
it.
there before,
Just
yeah.
to make sure, I didn't do it.
No, this is this is a comped vocal, and this is actually what we used in the track.
So and now let's turn on the second vocal, the dub vocal, and you can either choose it to become orange as well.
Right.
So you can edit them. It's kind of because they're in unison, they're hard to see the difference between them. And I would start, therefore, to turn them to gray. Oops, got it like this. So now they should be overlapping each other because they are in unison. And I directly see there's a gray note, just flat. There's a gray note too. From first glance, this looks like
that's what we're
should,
hearing at the beginning.
care about. Let's listen back.
Stay while I'm wide
Still hearing only the orange one. Remember, that's the slider here. So I put it to the middle position. It plays back the orange and the gray as well.
stay while I'm
And the while, you see there's just some glitch you need to repair. And by the way, if I turn it further up, I blend in the other tracks, the ones that are either orange or gray, which in this example is our instrumental backing. I blend them up a little bit because, you know, when you're working on a vocal, you shouldn't do it in solo, or two vocals in solo. You always need to hear the instruments.
Absolutely.
Probably you don't want to hear them at full level because you want to focus on the vocals. That's why we have the slider here. So this would be full level of the playback, and this is blended in a little bit. So let's set it up like this.
stay while I'm wide awake. You shake, shaking me wide awake. Shake, shaking me.
So that's maybe a setting I personally would prefer. And now I start working on it. First thing, look for the things that are obviously off. And let's zoom in here. It's always important to watch this curve, which is the pitch movement she is doing. And on this note, this movement is pretty straight. I'm pretty sure you already tuned this.
I did, yeah.
Probably not with Melodyne, because Melodyne wouldn't make it such a flat line. But this actually had some tuning, so it's spot on the right note. So the lead vocal is correct. And now let's change the roles here. Turn the backing vocals red. And in the backing vocals, she's starting pretty low, while the other was straight. It looks like you didn't tune the dub vocal yet. That explains the difference. Maybe the lead vocal originally looked like this also, but you didn't like it. That's why you tuned it pretty hard.
Sure.
And so you have one hard-tuned vocal, which is the lead, and one not tuned vocal, which is the double, and this sounds. If you want to stay with this lead vocal, then you would decide to move the backing vocal up accordingly. I'm doing this here with the Alt key hold, so it's doing it not in certain quantizations thing. It's doing it freely, and I personally like that she's taking it from there. So maybe I don't push it to the maximum. The maximum this would be.
Sure.
There I would be, or with the double click, I would be at 0%. Let's listen to it. So now it's kind of spot on. Let's leave it like this. Another thing you notice that still I just moved the whole thing up and down. I didn't change the curve itself. That's the beauty about Melodyne. If you change the pitch by moving notes up and down, you don't yet influence the curve. And remember the curve on the other track. Let me just switch again. The curve here is a straight line. You probably edited it like this. And so we would need to make in the other vocal the line become more straight also. The different strategies of doing it, I would, in this case, just to be pretty fast, I would probably do it like this with this tool. And I would then build a crossfade here. So it still is, there's some life to it. So it's better now already. Still, I don't, at this particular spot, I don't like the timing of it. Timing can be improved also. The question is now, would we stay with this part and finish the timing also? Or would we disregard the timing for now and go on through the song and look for other things where we can concentrate on the pitch? It doesn't matter actually in which running order you do it like this.
Sure.
It's your personal style. So what we would do, I won't finish the whole song now, but to give you expression what I would do, I would go through this vocals and on spots like this where they clash. There I have the Let's turn on the lead vocal again. So the lead vocal is coming up from very high. That's what she does. Very nice. And she's starting, technically speaking, she's starting much too high. She's starting over there for a very short amount of time, and then she goes down to the right pitch. And this looks wrong, but for me it sounds good.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. It's one of the things about her vocal that I love. And when I was producing her, I wanted that angst.
Yeah.
You know, she was 19 when she sung
If
this.
you record vocals, are you aiming for pitch or are you aiming for expression?
I'm always aiming for performance. Always
Performance,
expression and
yes,
performance.
exactly.
Because all the singers I grew up on, the Freddie Mercurys and the David Bowies, are amazing singers with incredible ranges, Bowie and Freddie Mercury in particular.
That's what makes up a great singer, that the singer is aiming for expression.
Sure. I always
And
I
not
use
for
all the
control.
time. Yeah, absolutely. All the time I use one song, and I will say this again, Ashes to Ashes by David Bowie. You know, where it's like, do you remember the day? Oh no, don't say it. Are you going to message? I mean, he's like 3 or 4 different voices within the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, that is a vocal performance. So I'm always, she has that kind of angsty teenage thing in abundance. So I encourage that with her.
And you should not do the mistake. So we should encourage the users, if they find something like this, which obviously looks wrong, and it would be easy to correct. I would choose this modulation tool and I would make it like this.
Right.
This sounds correct mathematically, but with this movement, in this very moment, I killed this special expression which I wanted. So don't do it just by looking at it. If it looks strange, it's a hint that it probably is a little bit strange. But listen back.
Yeah, the ha!
It's
awesome.
It's nice. Unfortunately, it's in the dub vocal, she doesn't do the same thing. So
Sure.
let's
Which
look.
would be almost impossible to get that kind of expression.
Exactly. So let's look at it. And she's coming there. She's going too far down, which is the first thing I would correct. I would move it up, maybe like this. So she lands at the right spot. And she doesn't start that high. Let's just, after this one edit, listen again. There's a timing issue to it as well. We go for this later. So maybe this is okay. Or if you want to bring the dub vocal more into this expression of the lead vocal, then I would use the tool and go for the other direction, like this. Now, again, compare the two curves. This one goes up. She starts at the F sharp here, and with my latest edit, the backing started even higher, so I overdid it probably. Just by looking at it, I would say this should sound pretty much the same now.
That's pretty remarkable.
So I brought the same expression that I watched in the lead vocal, which we liked. I brought it in the backing vocals, which she couldn't do while she was singing it. Again, there's no strategy of doing, you have to do it like this.
No, but in all the things
Maybe.
you've shown me, that's my favorite thing I've learned, because that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get this teenage girl, I mean, she's still only 21, I did this 2 years ago. I'm trying to get this teenage girl to be expressive and sound young, because she is young. I'm not trying to remove that from her vocal. I don't want it to sound like a 40-plus-year-old guy like me. I'm trying to keep that rawness. So yes, it's always, that's why you can see I did some correction, but I left so many other things go.
And what's important for me at this place, I really want to highlight this, that for me personally, looking at a vocal is a very important thing.
Right.
Before I start editing it, I really try to understand, why is the curve looking like this in this situation? Is it wanted to be like this? And why is it? What does this kind of pitch fluctuation do to the expression? And when I say I like it, like in this example, I keep it. And then I look at the other tracks and I see, well, they could be more like this. And so I would, in this example, I would edit the same than I just did.
I think that's the biggest bonus I can see for me, is like being able to, actually get an incredible performance with expression, and then be able to enhance that is fantastic. Because ultimately, I can pretty much take any human being alive and make them sound like they can sing in tune.
Yeah, but that's not.
But I can't do this. I can't get expression. I can't. That is what makes every vocalist so unique. And, yeah, that's a great tool.
So at this particular spot, I would
Yeah.
then go for the timing, which we should do right now. But in a real life scenario, I would go through this chorus and look at the next chorus, which spots I have there. And I pretty much like the performance here just by listening to it once. I would assume it would take me maybe 10 minutes maximum to do some edits on the lead vocal. There were spots which I didn't like.
Right.
For my personal taste, so I would maybe invest another 10.
All right, this is
10
what we're going to do.
minutes,
I'm going to shut the up, and you're going to do that.
So just give me a few minutes to run through this vocal line. I prefer then to not listen to the dub vocal for now because I want to check the lead vocal, so I just turn the level down.
Help me to say while I'm
So I probably find some issues here. This one is a little bit high just by hearing from it, and I check it. Yeah, it's only 2 cents, so maybe it was my imagination, but never mind. I put it down a little bit. Continue working through the song.
say while I'm wide awake.
The next thing, the I was definitely flat because she's starting it very low. If you watch the curve here, she's starting too low, much too low, and then takes some time. Sometimes this can be a nice expression. We had a different situation earlier where we liked it, but listen again. This I would then, if I don't like it, I would improve it like this. So it's a matter of personal taste. I just want to show the strategies, how you would work on it if you want to work on it. So I would slice the note up there. So remember when I slice note, I showed this earlier, Melodyne is recalculating the new notes that are on the screen now, and just by splicing up the note, which I did, I don't change the tuning yet, it's just the representation, but now I see the truth, what's really happening here. This one's starting pretty low. Actually, it's nearly starting on the A, but it's 14% high, so that's somewhere in between. So that's probably what I found disturbing when I stopped the playback here. Just listen once more. So if I like that she's taking it like I, really going up, I would actually even turn it down so it falls into key again. So now it's a really the A. Listen again. If I like it, that's good now. And if I don't like the expression of going like this, in this indie pop thing, I would prefer to leave it like this. If it would be maybe an R&B song or so, I would actually go somewhere like this. Just listen back again. So it's a matter of taste. For me now, I would leave it like down here.
Wide awake, you shake, shaking me wide awake.
This me I don't like.
Shake, shaking me wide.
I don't know why I don't like it. Maybe because it has this very going low to the end.
Me wide awake.
It doesn't, for me, it doesn't sound really focused. She already, in her mind, she was already concentrating on the next thing. So what I would actually do in this thing, I would try to understand why I got a kind of disturbing feeling here. Look for it in the curve, and I see the last part in the curve is what I don't like, so I move it like this. What I'm actually doing here, if you grab the normal pitch tool and hover around the end of the note, you change the tempo of the expression of the transition from one note to the next. So if I do it like this,
Me wide awake.
the me now gets much more focused.
Me wide awake.
Actually, while I'm doing it, I still want to give more impression to this me, so I use the amplitude tool. Just turn this up a little bit.
Shake me wide awake.
And so on. So let's continue.
Shake me wide awake.
This again, I don't like this being too high when she's going from this note to this note.
Shake me wide awake.
Again, it's a level thing too on this one.
Me wide awake. Let your heart wide awake. Let your heart.
This one I don't like, but I guess that's already been tuned before by you. Maybe there was something wrong and you tuned it already. You can see from the pitch curve here, it's already pretty straight. So because it has been tuned before, we did the stem, maybe I can't do anything on it. That's a real life situation actually, that you get something for mixing and somebody had some tuning program on it, and if you don't like it, then you're kind of stuck. You can, with Melodyne, try to bring back some of the original expression by just kind of over-exaggerating what was there. Let's listen back.
Awake, let your heart
Actually, listen again.
wake, let your
It's interesting. At the beginning, I like this now. This is that, and at the end, she's kind of getting too high.
let your
So let's undo it and compare with the original one.
wake, let your
Somewhere in between would be nice. So what I would do in this scenario like this, I would bring back more of the original expression, which I like at the very beginning. Then I would chop the note, maybe here, go back to this pitch modulation tool, turn this back again to what it was.
heartbeat.
I liked it.
Make me wide awake, let your heart beat.
This heart is the thing we already cared about earlier. It looks wrong, but we decided that this is the expression that is needed at this particular spot.
Heartbeat, move
So we leave it like
wide
this.
awake, you shake, shake me wide awake, shake, shake me wide awake, you shake, shake
I'm not sure about this
wide awake, you
thing here, this wake. Again, it's a matter of taste if you like it. So maybe it sounds, for me, it sounds a little bit insecure because she's somewhere in between the notes there. I would actually kind of quantize it, make it the key sharp. And
wide awake, you shake,
now that's better for me. Maybe even turn it down a little bit more so that the peak of the curve is kind of in the middle of the pitch of this note. So
wide awake, you shake, wide awake, you shake, shake me wide
that's what I would do it. And so on.
awake, shake, shake me wide awake,
What's happening here?
me wide awake, me wide awake,
She's starting this
me wide awake,
while she's starting low, but again, she's somewhere in between the white key and the black key, so to speak. So I actually like that she's taking it from down there, but it should be even more down, something like this.
me wide awake, I'm going
I prefer this.
me wide awake,
It's much more stable this way. It feels, for me, it feels more like she really intended it to do it like this. But the transition from this first half of this word to the second half is pretty fast. So again, I use this tool and make it slightly slower.
wide awake, I'm going wide awake,
And here, there's again, that's pretty lifeless. Maybe it was tuned before too much, and it's too flat. So with a double click, I just tune it to 1 cent offset, and with this modulation tune again, I bring in some more of the original live, maybe something like
wide
this.
awake, I'm going way too fast.
Okay, download the demo version of Melodyne. It's for free, 30 days. You can use the full program, which is the Melodyne Studio, the same thing that I'm working here. Download it from our website and use it for 30 days. Use it on this material and see what you come up. Maybe this was a bit inspiration, what I did in the first course. Go ahead, try to do the same thing. Go for the other parts also. It will be really interesting to see what you come up with. So this was the lead vocals. I would then go to the backing vocals. Then we would continue with the other dub vocals, if there are any. What I personally do, and I know lots of producers do it, I know that what Rowan gave me in this example was a stem already. He comped the vocals, so there must be outtakes. And probably I would use the outtakes now. Probably because they were outtakes because they had more issues probably. But I'm sure that with Melodyne you could make the outtakes work at least as a good second, third, or whatever doubling vocal. If the singer already left the studio and we didn't take more doubles and we decide later, then we just grab the outtakes, tune them, and then we have our doubles. Probably I would also like to do some harmony vocals with it. Again, you should try yourself just with these files if you can come up with a harmony vocal you like. But when you do it, I want to keep in mind that it's something artificial we are doing here. We're creating something that wasn't there. We are doing already kind of sound design. So again, download our demo version and see where you come up with.